Hey guys, it's Al here from Vince and Al Podcast, and just welcome to midweek segment number 5. Can't believe it, we're already 5 weeks into this whole midweek segment idea, and it's just living out a dream. It's just awesome, guys. If you guys are listening to this and you haven't yet listened to midweek segment number 4, Vince's segment, after this segment's all said and done, after I get all I have to say out of my system, and you guys listened, go in and tune in to midweek segment number 4. Vince had a lot to say, and just another positive message. I love how these midweek segments, how they've kind of evolved. The original theory behind these segments was just a 6 to 8 minute platform for us to talk, for me to talk about sports or something, Vince talk about movies, sneakers, something like that, and it's kind of transformed, like I said, evolved into a deeper thing where Vince and I talk about things that are on our minds and on our hearts, and we want to benefit you guys as our audience, as our family. So, without much further ado, let's get right into what I want to talk about this segment. I have a lot to talk about, and it has a general concept about it. So, obviously with the title's called Never Judge a Book by Its Cover. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm gonna give a real life example of, one of my examples of going through this saying. But I did want to say, obviously, if you don't understand what Never Judge a Book by Its Cover is, here's a simple explanation for it. But here's another thing that I pull away from that saying that I think sometimes gets overlooked. So obviously, for the reason of examples, you grab a book out of the library, and typically, this has a deeper meaning. But you look at a book and you look at its cover and you're like, oh, I don't like this cover. I don't like its art. I don't like its title, whatever. And what most people say is when you open the book, you start reading the book, you give the book a chance, and you find it yourself to love that book. You find yourself to love that person, and that person could become your bestest friend. That book could become your most favorite book. But I think what something is overlooked in the saying is, you look at the cover, right? You dislike the book, the cover, the title, whatever. You open the book, you give it a chance. That's the most important thing. You give the book a chance, and then you read it, and maybe you find yourself not liking the book. You don't like the contents within that book. I think that's something that, like I said, gets overlooked with that saying. So let's get right into Never Judge a Book by Its Cover. And my real life example of it. And I think it's a beautiful story. So please stay tuned. Just listen up. And, this is coming from my heart. I hope you guys enjoy it. That's not really that much practice. It's just going to come like a stream of conscious kind of thing. Never judge a book. Hold on, sorry. In the title it says part 1, right? Typically with a part 1, there's a part 2. Yeah, part 2, midweek segment number 6, Vince is going to give his side of the story. Never judge a book by its cover by Al. The summer of 4th grade, going into 4th grade, typically you would spend in your early stages of life, your summers between school years, enjoying jumping in the pool and splashing, laughing with your friends, all those things. And I'm not saying that summer I didn't do those things, but I wouldn't exactly say I was stressed, but it was on my mind. I found out I was moving. I was going to leave my friends behind and go to a new school. So what I loved about my new school is that they had, I'm sure most schools have, new student orientations. I think it's just a fantastic way to have kids get involved, get familiar with the building, get familiar with the teachers, but also get familiar with the new students, So I walk in, 4th grade, wide eyes. I'm in a new school, have to make new friends. I'm in a new town, and actually at that time I wasn't in my new house yet. I was still living with we sold our house, and we didn't have anywhere else to live, so we lived with my grandparents while we searched for a house. And so we actually had the house, but we hadn't moved in. So I lived an hour away with my grandparents, which is awesome. So anyway, I walk in, and thankfully, the majority of the other kids were also wide-eyed, and they were in a similar boat that I was. So I did share something with them. So they bring us in. I arrive just in time, fashionably late. They get the parents in, and they split the kids into groups, and they send us out on a scavenger hunt, to get familiar with the building, like I said, the teachers, where everything is located, while the parents did, the boring grown-up stuff, getting force-fed with information that, as fourth graders, would bore you to death. So, we did cool things like, for example, find the media center, and at that time, I had no idea what a media center was. Just a fancy name for a library. Put some computers in there, and boom, you got yourself a media center. Other things such as, the cool thing about the school is that each hallway was labeled as if it were a road. So it was like, find this and this road, then go to so-and-so's teacher, introduce yourself as a new student. Other things as find locker 1301, and inside there's this. A pretty long list, and finally when we got that list done, all the kids got back, and at that time, I'd say perfectly timed, they were wrapping up the whole lecture with the parents. So they dismissed us, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, my mom, being the awesome mom that she is, took lots of notes, organized all the papers. So I got back, and once she got all of that organized and ready, we were ready to go, and we turned around and took a couple steps. And then someone grabbed our attention, whether it was a hi or excuse me, I kind of forget. But we turn around, and we see a lovely lady and a kid next to her side, a kid about my age. Find out he's in fourth grade as well as me, and just like every other kid, he's a new student. For me, I'm kind of a picky person, and I'm kind of the word is ornery. If I set my mind to something, it's so hard to change it. And for me, I was looking for a kid who loved to draw. I was different. Most kids at my age, and still at my age, loved to play video games, loved to do a lot of things. And I didn't really share many similar interests as the kids. But I was looking for someone who had the balance of loving to draw, kids who loved to hunt frogs, loved to spy, and my version of spying was hide from the parents and hope they don't find you, and play soccer, right? I love soccer. I still do. It's not soccer, it's football, but for you Americans, it's soccer. But anyway, that's what I was looking for. And this kid, he's wearing an Eagles flat cap, right? So he loves football, obviously. He's wearing a Eagles jersey. He's wearing socks up to his shins, and I think he was wearing basketball shoes. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I doubt that this kid likes to draw. This kid probably is just football-oriented, sport-oriented, loves to play video games. Just like what we can pull from just someone's appearance, or what we think we can pull, is fascinating, I think. You see someone at a store, and you feel like you know all about them, and maybe you were right, but 9 times out of 10, you're completely wrong. And in this instance, I was wrong. He loves the Eagles. For me, I love the Browns. I just didn't give him a chance. This lady, really nice, is talking to my mom, and they're talking, and me and this kid are looking at each other like, okay, what's cool, our parents are talking, whatever, we're just not gonna acknowledge one another. It's like, yeah, what's up, that's it. And then the nice lady, at the end of the conversation, says something that I think alters the majority of my childhood, and she says, hey, would you like to come over and have a play date? At that time, the play date was reasonable, but obviously me and the kid look at each other like, what? Play date? Psh, we're too grown up for that. Anyway, at the end of the day, I drive an hour home to my grandparents, and a couple days later, I find myself driving right back out to that city, leaving my grandparents, driving that hour, and pulling into a driveway of a beautiful home, welcoming home. So I remember, like, man, this is weird, walking up the steps. I walk up the steps, and I didn't realize that I would be walking up those steps plenty more times to come. Plenty more times to come. So I walk in, very inviting. This is Vince. If you haven't put two and two together, this kid is Vince. And Vince's mom is such a hospitable, that's the correct word. Such an hospitable lady. She puts the values of the guests first. Whatever is best for the guest. She says that she's Italian, and so they just love to feed people, and that has been true throughout the years. That's true. Anyway, we're in the kitchen. She fixes me up a snack, like always. I'm always shy. Always have been. Always will. Fixes me a snack, and we have small talk. And it wasn't ever like, I want to get out of this situation. I kind of was dreading it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I kind of was dreading it, but I was having a decent time. And I said, this is just gonna be a familiar face I'm gonna see at school, so I feel at least comfortable at school. And then she says, why don't you guys go up to Vince? Why don't you take Al up to your room and have some one-on-one time, get to know each other a little bit. I walk into his room, and the first thing that jumps out are the drawings that he has done. And guys, Vince is an artist. I'm gonna say that right now. Actually, I'm gonna count to 3. When I hit 3, I'm gonna pop up a picture that Vince actually gave to me. I don't know who exactly he is. It's a Star Wars man, but this drawing means so much to me. So I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2, 3. There's the picture. Isn't it awesome, guys? It's just fantastic. Vince has always shown interest in art, and he's got a bright future in art if he continues what he is doing. He's just fantastic at what he does, and I personally love to draw. Not as great as Vince, but I do like to draw, and that's something we shared in common. So I'm gonna go back to my midweek segment logo. But what an awesome drawing. Thanks again, Vince, if you're listening to this, for that awesome drawing. But anyway, I see he loves drawings. I'm like, dude, no way, you like drawings? Yeah. And so, I get to the question of, why do you like the Eagles? And it's because his favorite color is green. Basically, there's a lot of things. If you listen to episode 1, there's more things of why he likes the Philadelphia Eagles, but one of the main reasons is he loves green. My favorite color was green. Another thing in common. We're like, hey, what do you want to do outside? And I was just like having such a blast. I'm like, man, we're connecting. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna wing it. Let's see if he likes it. Hey, do you want to hunt frogs? And he's like, no way. And we find ourselves with nets, and in his neighborhood, he has drainage systems that are typically filled with water, and in there are frogs. And at least it was that summer. I don't know about now. And we found ourselves hunting frogs, and we just had a blast that day. And ever since then, Vince and I, we just connect. Obviously, as 4th graders, we were more boys. We loved to play outside and all those kind of things. But as Vince and I grow up, we continue to have the same similarities, the same interests, and all those kind of things. So 4th grade was just a blast. I find out that 2 days later, after hanging out with him, he is in my homeroom class. And in 4th grade, if you're in your homeroom class, you're in his class. I was always in his class for the entire year. It was just such an awesome. It's just awesome to be in a new school and already have a best friend. It's such a rare situation, and I wouldn't say took it for granted, because now I'm in the new student kind of situation again, and I don't have that best friend like I did. So it was definitely a blessing to have Vince pop into my life at the time that he did. But guys, with what I'm going to say, don't get that we fought and all that stuff. But just like any other great relationship, friendship, it wasn't always smooth sailing. And this story stays true. It makes me sad to think about. But with school, if you're not in the same class, you kind of grow apart. Especially in the time that we grew up in, iPods were, I don't even think that, I think the iPhone was in there, but iPhones were just so rare. No one really had iPhones. No one really had modes of communication, especially being 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders. Vince and I never really were in many classes together. And there were times where we would go days, weeks, months, half a year even, without talking to each other. And, to think about it now just hurts me. It really does. All the missed times that Vince and I could have spent together. Especially knowing that we're so far away from each other now. But, I wouldn't ever say that we grew apart, because whenever we came together, and we talked, it was as if we never missed and skipped a beat. And in times of need, I was there for Vince, and in times of need, Vince was there for me. And I think we kind of went through our cycles of being great friends and then not talking to each other. And it was just I would kind of almost say frustrating, because we just couldn't ever find time to spend with one another. And for me, I think with our relationship, Vince and I never really have fought. We're just so accepting of one another's ideals, and we share so much in common. Maybe, I want to apologize to you, Vince, if I've ever hurt you in any way, shape, or form. I just want to say that. But 9th grade hit around, and we found ourselves in the same class, but it didn't really click, if that makes sense. So I was like, man, our friendship's gone. Sophomore year, we find ourselves in the same English class. How crazy is that? But by March, being in the same English class, we still weren't really connected. But then something clicked. Vince and I started to share common interests with one another. I went out shopping. I talked to his mom for the first time in like 2 years. And our friendship started to rekindle. And from there, we just kept talking, and into the summer, we had a blast this past summer. And then I found out I was moving, and that was hard to leave. I had family that I was leaving, friends, so much that I was leaving behind. And this is going into the origins of this podcast channel. Vince and I were like, we can't let this happen again. Those were the thoughts that were going through my mind. I said, I can't lose him again. I just can't. I don't care how far we are. I don't care the distance that are separating us. I don't care. I just can't lose him. And thankfully, we're blessed with the time that we are with the technology. That we can record phone calls and FaceTime and talk and all those kind of things, and text. We're blessed with technology now. But I think Vince and I, with finding out that we're moved, we've just grown so strong. And this podcast channel has just been such a blessing, because it's keeping us together. And we're doing something together that we love, and that's just creating great content for you guys. That's the story. That's the story of Vince and I, the origins of Vince and Al. I like that. And if I would have judged him, I did. But if I didn't give him that chance, I think so much would be different. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking into this microphone. Just a lot of things. And I gave him that chance. And I know he gave me a chance as well. And I read the book, and I loved it. Vince, you mean a lot to me. And you just mean a lot. And you've just been such a great friend, and in times of need, you've been there for me. I know this is intended for an audience, but I know you're listening to this, and you just mean a lot. And I'm excited to keep doing the things that we're doing, and I know that you and I are both going places, whether that be separate or together. We're always going to be connected. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys like this segment, like this channel, subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. Join our family. This is a family. You aren't subscribers, you are family members. Like this video and comment down below if you've ever had a never judge a book by its cover moment. So without much further ado, peace out and welcome and thanks for being part of the family.